Hi friends, welcome once again to my channel Dreamshot. This video is about how to take sharp images. I've been seeing a lot of beginner photographers and even the intermediate fashion photographers who've been doing fashion for a couple of years. The photos are not sharp enough. Today I'll be giving you 5 tips to take those sharp pictures. In fact, I would keep it as 4 plus 1 because 4 points are for how to take the photos and 1 is the editing part. Now, when I talk about the sharp images, how do you say a particular image is sharp? Um, you know, the one thing what we have to consider is the eyes of a person, and I'm talking about people here just because my video is confined to people photography, and it may be wedding photography or fashion photography or portraits, photo shoots. It's confined to people photography. One very important thing is to avoid the camera shake. So how do you avoid it? Obviously you can use a tripod, you can use a monopod, but if your style or if your situation doesn't allow a tripod or a monopod, I think the best thing is to take care with a faster shutter speed. In most of the cases, unless there is no enough light, I make sure that I keep a shutter speed of at least 1 by 400 when I click photos. That's usually the minimum shutter speed I use for any portrait photography. When you hold a camera, there are different types of camera shakes involved. One is the left to right, top to bottom, and the other is front and back. So if you don't have tripod or monopod, and if you are only dependent on the shutter speed, you won't notice the shake, but then the focus is impacted. So if you are focusing on the eye of an object, and if your camera moves front or back, then obviously the focus is not going to stay on the eye. So this becomes an aperture problem rather than the shutter speed problem. So the right left movement and the up down movement will be taken care by the shutter speed, but the front back movement has to be taken care by the aperture. So you have to take care by yourself, how you hold the camera, where you place the object, and most importantly the aperture setting, whatever you have put. If you have a wider aperture, like say 1.8, 1.2, 1.4, you have to be really very careful because a slight movement also may take the focus of the object. The third very important part is the relative distance of the object. Example, if you plan to click only the eyes of a person in the close-up, then probably 1.2, 1.4 or 1.8 would be fine. But if you think about covering the entire face with 1.2 or 1.4, then you have to have a certain amount of distance between the camera and the person you're shooting. So the relative distance should be maintained, and probably you can do this only after taking multiple shots and looking into the shots and making sure that whatever you want to be in focus are in focus. The fourth point would be selection of the lenses. There are many lenses available and you have a wide variety of options. You have to choose the sharp lens. Let me tell you, one of the famous lens, Canon 1.2 50mm, it's very difficult to focus. If I take around 20 pictures in Canon 1.2 50mm, I'll be able to shortlist only around 5 sharp images. The lens I would suggest from the Canon, because I use Canon, 50mm 1.8 is good and 85mm 1.8 is good as well. So you can try these lenses. They are comparatively pretty sharp. So these are the things you can take care when you are on location. Having said that, there are some instances where when you see the images, your object is not relatively very sharper than the environment around. In Lightroom, we have the option of local adjustment. With the help of the local adjustment in the Lightroom, make sure that your main object is sharper than the other part of the image. I hope using these 5 tips you'll be able to create sharper images for portrait photography. Please do subscribe to my channel, and I'll make sure that I'll come with more short videos with helpful tips. Thank you so much for watching.